So welcome everyone. This is a Profiles and Purpose interview, and today I'm here with Jobelle of HMNTY, which is a really interesting brand that you're going to get to learn more about. It's a purpose-driven brand. And what this video series is a chance to look under the hood of somebody who's actually doing it. Because there's a lot of folks who are talking about purpose. There's purpose washing. Major consumer products companies are throwing the word around, like they throw the word sustainability and green and all that kind of stuff. And so it's important to keep the spotlight on the real deal. And that's really what I care about. It's what Jobelle cares about. And that's what this tonight's session is about. So Jobelle, welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So before we dive into my questions, I just want to kind of ask you for a second, and what are you connected to right now? What's most inspiring about your life, about your work? What are you most present to right now?
I guess every day being able to walk my truth, like the last few years of my adult life, I guess, and turning 30 end of last year, things start connecting and things start making sense. And I guess now I'm able to walk that truth, and it really inspires me and motivates me every day to be able to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with the first question, and that's, how is HMNTY your truth? What does it mean for you to kind of lead this brand? What is the work that you do, and what's the impact it has?
Yeah. So the idea is to use the power of business and consumerism to do good in the world. We see all these brands that are making millions and billions of dollars, but it's all going towards the top 1%, and the rich people are staying rich and the poor people are staying poor. So this is authentic to me because ever since I could remember, I've always just been so passionate about the people that are living in poverty in the world that don't have a voice. It's still ridiculous to me that half the world's population, 3.4 billion people, still live on less than $2 a day. That's crazy to me. Yeah. We live in 2018 now. We have some crazy technology and innovations, but this kind of extreme poverty still exists. So yeah, I just wanted to start up HMNTY to create a business that help solve poverty in the world and help end poverty in all its forms everywhere. And we do that in two ways: by creating a brand that represents people of all different backgrounds and lifestyle of being a human being and embracing the human experience and the struggle, and a brand that really represents humanity and just respecting each other as human beings. We could be different, we could disagree, but just respect each other as human beings. And we also do this by building a model where we get our products made by people that live in poverty and pay them ethical and fair wage. So it's basically building a system where we have quality products, but we're not forgetting about the 3.4 billion that are living in poverty. We're creating jobs for them, we're creating resources for them, and we're creating opportunity for them. And we're opening up a marketplace through online technology to help share their story and help put their products out there online. So we're actually launching that in June.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that. Well, let me just reflect a few things I heard there. From what it sounds like, you are deeply concerned with the human condition.
Mm-hmm.
And that, in addition to what the products and the way of business is, that there's a brand ethos that stands for loving and respecting each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that is huge. And I'll just share personally, how difficult that is, because you want to have a big impact, and at least for me in my business, I'm trying to do everything in a purpose aligned way, right? And I was just having this conversation with Steph, my fiance, about so we have a housekeeper. We have somebody who comes in twice a month to give our place a deep clean. And, this sparked a whole conversation around living wage between us, because, you can get cheap keepers on Craigslist for like $20 an hour. But if you live in the Bay Area, a living wage is like $40 an hour.
Yeah.
It's insane. And obviously it's a lot less in other places, but that's part of our supply chain, because we work in the realm of, books and courses and ideas. And we can't do that if our place is a pigsty. And yeah, we could do less of our purpose and spend more time cleaning, but we're like, okay, well, let's give it to somebody who really cares about this.
Yeah.
And I just want to acknowledge you for putting fair wages and respect and dignity forward, because that's really beautiful.
Yeah, thanks.
So I want to ask you, poverty is not a new issue, right?
Yeah.
And there's a gazillion things in the world that are messed up, from politics, the environment, to gender, sexuality. I mean, there's so many ways to kind of make a difference. What was it about poverty that said, okay, I need to play a role here. This is personal to me, and my work has to address this issue.
Yeah, so my background is in international development work, and I worked for and interned for numerous nonprofits. I saw how the World Bank worked, a lot of government agencies like United Nations, and I saw it on the ground because I actually lived in India for a while, actually working with people in rural communities and in slums. And I saw that these nonprofits and government agencies have existed for hundreds of years, but they're not really solving the problem. They're creating a Band-Aid fix. So seeing that on the ground, and over here, seeing the media and everything, when we think of people that are poor, they always show the sad pictures and making you feel bad for them. But when I was actually out there on the ground and on the field, that wasn't the case. Everybody was super entrepreneurial. Everybody was hardworking. They would work from 5 a.m. till 9 p.m. at night. It's just that they didn't have the opportunity to actually advance their lives, to be able to live their dreams, and to be able to provide for their families. So I realized that they didn't need charity. And that was a big thing, because coming from here, we think that they do. And actually seeing that they don't need charity. They're very strong people. They're very entrepreneurial. What they really need is basically teaching them how to fish, teaching them how to be entrepreneurs and to put it up onto the next level. And that was actually why I got so passionate and inspired by it, because they created amazing things, whether it be coffee, chocolate, luxury items, weaving, amazing silk weaving, all that stuff. They had this skill set, but they just didn't have access. And it just dawned to me okay, they don't need charity. They need investment. They need people to see their product, and they need to be connected onto the global marketplace just so they can change their lives and create a better future. And that's how I really thought what was needed to actually solve poverty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great. So is there anything in your upbringing that had you be especially sensitive to the plight of folks who don't have enough?
Yeah, when I was younger, I lived in San Diego, and we would always go to TJ, to Tijuana. It was literally 15, 20 minutes away. And every time we'd go, my parents would always fill up a bag of old shoes or clothes, to get ready to throw to the kids by the border. And so I was exposed to that at a very young age. And I questioned it, why do I live in this home? Why do I always have food every day? And there's people in the world that don't. So I was exposed to that at a very young age. And it just never left my mind, I guess. Never left my visions in life or my dreams, because I just always think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I'm also hearing that it sounds like there's a strong family value you have that you're continuing and accelerating with your brand, that your people care about people.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. My parents definitely raised us to respect other people and to respect other people's space and other people's emotions and how other people feel. And I guess I was just always that was just always in me growing up. Yeah.
Cool. So I want to talk a little bit about the specifics of what humanity is, because I think that's important. And, I think in an era where people don't make things anymore as much as they used to, like, we have fascination with things like, wow, you make things? Cool. Let's see the thing. So I was wondering if you might show us a piece or two of something that you work on.
Yeah, so we actually just launched our like name branded merchandise. So it's HMNTY. So this is our long sleeve. So the back, it's like, it says humanity spelled out fully, and then our humanity. So HMNTY. And this is the front. Just very minimal, basic stuff. We have a hoodie that also has the small spiral of humanity, but on the sleeve it reads, spread love, respect each other, lead by example, and keep your head up. And it's just some values that we have as a brand. And if we're not working with global entrepreneurs, we actually work with local small businesses to get our things made so we can support these local small businesses. So all of our merchandise was made at a local small business here in the Bay Area.
That's awesome. I also want to acknowledge that, like, I've been in the kind of conscious marketplace for a while, and most of the stuff does not have a modern urban feel to it. Most of it feels like, I don't know. I'm always reminded of this Portlandia episode where Fred Armisen is dressed in a pantsuit, and he's like this really liberal person, and he goes, "Meet me in the bookshelf. I'll be in my pantsuit," and there's all this kind of like hippie new age flair stuff that's made consciously. And what you have, I know that you've got the marketplace, we'll go into that in a second, but what you have is actually like urban wear that has deep values. And I'm curious, like, how did you make that connection? Be like, you know what, my people want to have a brand that says something, and also says I'm not screwing over, like, 4-year-olds in the Philippines,
Yeah, no, exactly. I actually come from like I come from the social impact world and like international development world, where everybody is into fair trade and ethical stuff. So I was naturally into that more so for the impact part. But I realized later that most of the people that I spoke to, and most of the people that are in my life and in my circle, they don't really shop this way. And I realized it was because it didn't really fit their image or their look, I guess. So I found an opportunity to create like a more urban streetwear looking brand, because I think that the fair trade industry is such a bubble right now, and it's only preaches to the choir, but I feel like it's going to take everybody to create this change. And I saw an opportunity to really talk to the younger generation of millennials and like people of more diverse backgrounds and people that I grew up with, and create a more urban, like more soulful look that will speak to the younger generation, because their purchase power is powerful in the next years to come, and to actually provide a product that they're into that like helps set the hype, but at the same time does good in the world was kind of like the sweet spot. And I've been hearing a lot of great feedback from people.
Wow, that's so great. Well, I need to get a hoodie for sure. It's wild that this hasn't happened yet, because there's been conscious hip hop for, since Tupac, and probably before that. And like nobody like, I mean, people love him not because of his, bandana and his tattoos. They love him because he's a poet, a revolutionary, saying things that, everyone wanted to hear. And then there were no brands. There was nothing to like to say, okay, join the Tupac club. And like, and it's almost like you're kind of, providing that really important service to like people who are from an urban area and also love humanity to participate.
Exactly. That's funny how you say that, because I was actually at a conference that was like a microfinance speaker, like an economist world speaker that was speaking. And I was listening to him talk, and I was like, wow, Tupac says this stuff. So that's just funny how you said that, because it's kind of like the same morals or same values that is being said. It's just not being communicated to this younger generation, because these brands that are more fair trade and like a little more like hippie movement isn't really speaking their language.
Yeah, exactly. And would you mind sharing a little bit about this marketplace then, and what sort of things folks will find there, and like where is it coming from and all that? Because I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, definitely. So so in our marketplace, we're working with partners in Peru and India and the Philippines and in Morocco. And basically I'm working with them to build a more modern version of different like basic accessories that people use, whether it be bags, cell phone holders, or like makeup, purses, just things that we use every day that we need, that we already buy, but I'm kind of training them and working with them to make it a little more modern and to fit our aesthetics. Because I actually had a company before this where I was very idealistic and I sold anything and everything I could get my hands on, but I wasn't really a business-minded person at that time. So I've learned a lot from that experience to launch this new marketplace. And I'm really hands-on and like really curating a look and aesthetic that meets humanity. Focus on more quality sales that will help the artisans be more empowered, and really teach them like what sells out here or in like the Western part of the world, because they don't have access to that information. So yeah.
So great. Awesome. So I want to shift gears here a little bit and ask you about the journey and what's been hardest for you? Like what kind of internal struggle and turmoil have you had to deal with? Because you mentioned there was a company before, and you've worked in international development, and you've had a pretty profound and wide-ranging career up to this date. And I'm curious, like, as you made the leap and say, okay, we're creating this new thing that's never been done before, what were like the little voices that said, you suck, you'll never make it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a battle. I mean, I'm still battling it every day, and I'm learning that it's normal and it's human and everybody goes through that. Before, when you first like really jump into it, you really listen to these thoughts. And it's basically the basic ones like doubt, fear of failure, thinking that you're not good enough, starting at the bottom, like I'm realizing like a lot of people don't want to ever start because they don't want to start at the bottom. But I realized that everybody starts at the bottom, and all these successful people that exist today, they all failed. They failed hundreds of times, but we don't really see that because we only hear about the things that are glorified, and we only hear about their successes. So yeah, so internal things is just basically the basic ones of fear, just really doubting myself, thinking I don't have the resources. But when you actually take this step and really believe in yourself, you really gain that confidence. And that's what I've learned through these past years, and just really have compassion with myself, because before I would just be really angry at myself of like, why is it taking you so long to figure this out? And I'm realizing that I'm actually creating and paving my own way. And that's like, it's going to take time, because the last 30 years of my life, I was used to going to school, getting a job, and like used to these things that are very routine and very safe. But to really create your own path, it's going to take a lot of rewiring with your mind. And I'm realizing that the hardest part about all of this is the mind, your mindset. Like the physical stuff is easy. It happens. Things happen when you move, but it's just like really taking away those blocks and barriers that's stopping you.
Yeah. You and I both know you worked with Steph, my fiance, and I'm curious if you might just share a little bit about what the process was for you to kind of get through those blocks, so you could just kind of be unstoppable with humanity.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one thing is that I had to be comfortable with being vulnerable. I mean, before I used to always fight that, but it's like you have to be vulnerable to start your own business. You have to be vulnerable to be comfortable to speak about the things you care about. So working with Stephanie taught me that. So basically creating a community and hiring like a mentor or a coach, or working with a coach that will actually help you get through this was pretty awesome. So for example, when I was working with Stephanie, all this stuff would be in my head, but she was able to use the things that she was able to pull out my biggest visions and was able to put it out realistically and create a schedule from that. So it's like how we go to school, we have a schedule, we know where to go, we know what to do. But when you're like wanting to create this business or wanting to create this big dream, like you forget that you need these things to actually like help you make it realistic. So it's like how, like, instead of having it stuck in my mind, she was able to pull it out and like make it into something realistic. And it wasn't a dream anymore. It was like, okay, for you to get to these goals in the next 6 months, we need to do this in March. We need to do this in April. We need to do this in May. So it's actually like breaking down your dream or your goals in life or whatever you want to do and putting it into a realistic like platform.
Yeah.
Whereas that, whether it be like scheduling or like different goals or like things you need to do to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that, like, you know, having a big purpose, having a big vision, you can almost like drown in it because it's so big and there's so many ideas.
Yeah.
And that actually, you know, making it happen, which you've done and you're continuing to do, is like having somebody at your side who can like move the big vision into like near term, midterm, and like long-term deliverables, and like just say, okay, for the next 2 weeks you're just focusing on these things, and then these things and these things and these things. And was that what kind of gave you like just a sense of the possibility, or like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, like I can just go do this?
Yeah. And I think at that point, before working with like a coach or a mentor, I was like in between, like, can I do this? Can I not do this? Should I get a job or should I not get a job? Or do I really believe in myself? And actually speaking to people in a community that have started businesses and being around people that have started businesses, like really opened my mind of like, okay, like I can do this. So it's just like really about believing in yourself and breaking that barrier in your mind that you could do this and you are capable to do it. And then being around people that have done it to like help show you the way.
Yeah. Amen. Well, I want to swing back to this concept of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because, in my judgment, like, you don't live your purpose until you're vulnerable, until you're just completely like, these are all the things I screwed up. This is how I'm a terrible person. this is like, you know, and I'm curious, like, where has more vulnerability made a difference for you? Like, is it in creating partnerships? Is it enrolling team members? Is it in the marketing? Like, where is vulnerability like strategic to humanity?
Yeah. Before I wanted to do everything on my own. I thought I could do everything on my own. And then putting all that on me, just realized I couldn't do anything on my own. And I'm like, okay, I need people. I need to start speaking about what I want to do. I need to start opening up and speaking more about like what I feel is truthful to me and with humanity. So it's like about opening up about this idea and not keeping it in and thinking that it's dumb or like people will think it's stupid or it's not going to work. It's just really owning up to it and saying, okay, this is the world that I believe in and I'm going to stand for it. And I don't really care what you think, because this is what I stand for. And if it doesn't work, then you're not my person. So I guess being comfortable with that and being comfortable with like knowing my biggest why, knowing why I'm doing this and knowing that it's not dumb to me and this matters to me, and just going out there and speaking to people about it and going out there and launching like this brand or these clothes in November about it. And ever since I did that, I hear great feedback from people and the right people come my way. And so that sense of vulnerability, being comfortable with just sharing with the world what you believe in and sharing with the world how you want humanity to be and how you want the planet to be, and just not really caring about what other people think or thinking if you're annoying or like whatever. It's just like sharing your truth and like the right people will come your way.
Yeah. I mean, and I can think, especially for your brand, which is itself a vulnerable revelation. You're like, capitalism's messed up, you know, and I need consumerism to make a difference. Like that's an interesting paradox, right? And I think there's this misconception in like the conscious good marketplace that it's only for rich people.
Yeah.
That only rich people care about things. Everyone else is, stuck in this survival mindset.
Exactly. Yeah.
But what's interesting, so a colleague of mine at Colorado State, he studies purpose and folks in the trades, janitors, and his research actually reveals that people who don't have enough think about this stuff way more, because they're like, this is all messed up. Like, what's the purpose of this? What am I doing here? Like, if this world isn't working for me, like, what's the deeper message? And so basically, like, he's in the process of reversing that misconception that purpose is just for the wealthy, or like wanting to create a better world is only for, white people who live in Marin. It's not the case. Like, everyone wants a part of the solution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny you say that, because last year when I wanted to launch HMNTY and thought of this idea, everybody was like, do these people even want to support something like this? So I did target market research like half the year last year, and every single person I spoke to, various backgrounds, various ethnicities, every single person wanted to make some kind of impact in the world. And I was just like, aha, okay, so this is it. So it is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's funny that you say that, yeah. And another part is that a lot of them thought they couldn't change the world because they didn't fit that mold, that like cookie cutter person that like we see in like various charity ads or like World Bank, United Nations. It's always like, that like a light-skinned person that looks strong. And so they didn't believe that they can make an impact, but I'm actually like, actually you can. So.
Well, and especially for your brand, so much of urban culture is, low price goods that have like big statements across, the t-shirts, on the hats, and also just, and another big part of urban culture is graffiti, and like people are dying to self-express what they care about, and if all they have is graffiti, that's what they're going to do. Yeah. It also seems like what you're, potentially able to give them is something that's like, this can be as big as, Adidas, or as big as, Backwoods or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it can actually be authentic. It's not just like repping some brand that means nothing to you.
Yeah, exactly. Or like a lot of people wear things because they want to look rich, or they want to look like they got money, or they look cool, but it's like, we need a brand that actually represents each other, the people, the struggle, the human experience. So
I love it.
Yeah.
So great. So let me ask you, Jobelle, you had said a little bit about, what people were saying when you first wanted to launch it. Like, do they really care?
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, in terms of, your friends and family, were they supportive? I mean, did you have support from them, or were they like, maybe you should get a job?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, they're super supportive. I mean, they don't necessarily know what I'm doing exactly. I come from like a traditional Filipino family, so of course my mom is like, "What are you doing? Like, what is that? I don't understand it." Like, that we're so used to Filipinos becoming nurses, and I hardly know any Filipinos that own a business. So I'm the first in my family to start a business, and I'm like first generation Filipino American, and it's just like, it was definitely challenging, but they know how passionate I am as a person, and I had to sit her down and just tell her exactly what I wanted to do, and tell her that I had a plan. And my dad has always been supportive. He always says, make it happen. So they're super supportive about it.
That's great. That's great. Because one of the things that often happens with, a visionary, with somebody who's got something in their heart that, they want to bring into the world, most folks aren't as fortunate. They actually have people crap on their dreams like pretty regularly. And there's I don't know if you've heard the saying, but there's no Jesus in Jerusalem. Have you heard that saying?
No, I never heard that.
So basically, when Jesus came back, as the story goes, anyways, the people in his own town did not recognize him. They didn't recognize him as the savior. They're like, oh, that's Joe the carpenter's kid. So Jesus couldn't do any miracles because there was nobody there who had that listening of him. They were just like, whatever, you're a dude. Who cares? But when he took his message to places where people did not know him, and when he did his miracles and all that kind of stuff, there he had more receptivity. So I guess what I want to ask you is, like, does not having your mom get it, does that make a difference for you? I mean, do you really need her to get it?
No, I don't actually, because she always tells me that she trusts me. She's like, okay, I don't know what you're doing, but I trust you. And she really believes in me. So I guess I'm pretty lucky to have like her faith in me. Like this whole like sustainability and like social business, social enterprise kind of thing is still kind of a new concept. Like some of like people my age don't even get it. So so no, it doesn't really matter to me as long as she trusts me, I guess is most important.
Yeah. Cool. So as you began this humanity journey, what was, well, two things. What was most surprising about launching this business, and what was most difficult?
The most surprising thing was actually hearing the great feedback I got. The most difficult, like I said before, was like the whole mindset thing and like really talking yourself out of it, thinking that it wasn't good enough, thinking that you're not good enough, but actually launching it and like starting to speak the message of the brand and hearing people's feedback. Like I just hear great feedback all the time, like from my friends, from my family, from strangers. And that's been like the awesome part. And I guess it's surprising because when you do this, you're just always skeptical of yourself. Like, oh my gosh, like this is dumb. Like this isn't worth it. I don't know why. Like you just always paint this picture of in your head of like all these things that are going to go wrong. And when everything goes right, that was actually surprising, which is pretty funny because you should already go into it like this is going to be the most amazing thing. Yeah.
And how about what was most difficult?
Like the most difficult personally, or like?
Well, I mean, you are your business, so it's kind of all the same, right? Like,
that's true.
Most challenging?
The most challenging would probably be just believing in myself, believing that I could do it, and just always trying to stay positive every single day and remembering why I'm doing it. Like waking up, because I could just sleep in all day and nobody would know, but it's like really gaining the discipline to actually do this and fight for it every day.
Yeah.
But like really talking to yourself and saying, you can do this. This is why you're doing it. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you have any, like, I mean, outside of the work you did with Stephanie, did you have any other like mentors or accountability partners, or any tools, any things you put in place so that you could always kind of stay on point, connected to your purpose, connected to the vision of humanity?
So number one, it's actually taking care of yourself and knowing yourself and like knowing your self-worth and just knowledge of self, like really getting in tune and getting inside of yourself and being in solitude and getting to know who you are. I'm finding that a lot of people get afraid of the quiet, because you get to really hear and listen to yourself. So being in solitude, being on my own, getting to know myself, getting to know why I really are passionate about these things. So either it be through meditation, through prayer, through like more spiritual routines to actually keep your mind there, because I like working your purpose or like my purpose. I feel that like I'm doing something bigger than myself. Like I could just get a job and make $80,000 a year and be comfortable with that. But I feel like I'm just so deep into this that I really am doing something that's bigger than myself. So I have to take care of myself. I have to take care of my mind and like always know why I'm doing this. And two, it's really having accountability partners, that really helps. So I had 2 accountability partners, 2 that I've met through Stephanie, and both of them had their own businesses. Before I was actually having partners or like working with people or getting mentored by people that didn't run their own businesses. And I know it's a complete different thing. Like, so now I would only take advice for people that actually like ran their own company, you know?
Yeah.
So I did have various mentors as well, like from school or different colleagues and peers, but none of them really ran their own businesses. So when I had that aha moment, I kind of started reaching out to people that ran their own businesses, and it's been awesome. But just being around a community of people that are starting businesses and have different challenges and hardships starting it, and like really hearing everybody's voice that are going through that. Because when it's just you, you think you're alone and you think you're going through this and the world is crumbling. But when you find a community that's going through the same thing and you're all able to talk about it, that really, really helped a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to pause here just for a second and see if our other fellow guests here have any questions. I mean, I have more, but
yeah.
I want to see if, I assume that's a relative of yours, a JGA.
Oh, okay. That's my dad.
Hey, Dad.
He's like, look at the camera.
and then also Charlotte or Nick, do you have any questions for Jobelle? Anything that's kind of weighing on you in terms of, Charlotte says, what's the biggest goal for humanity?
Like long term or short term or in general?
Charlotte, you want to say like for the brand, for long term, for short term, like what do you mean, Charlotte? All right, she's saying long term.
Yeah, to actually have a brand and a company that literally uplifts humanity every single day, like through its model, through what it represents. Because one, we'll have the impact park embedded where we're actually giving people jobs so they can rise out of poverty, and we're giving opportunity to people here that in everyday life don't really know how to give impact, but seeing this brand and seeing this company, they're like, okay, if I support this brand or buy something that I'm going to buy anyway, that's like Nike, but if I buy humanity, I get to help people and I get to represent what humanity stands for. I guess is a long-term goal, is actually to have a company that uplifts humanity every day through job creation and through just like letting people know that we're not alone. We're a human family in the end of the day. Yeah.
So I want to kind of ask a follow-up question to Charlotte's, because it's a great question. Because the way that you talk, like you're talking not in the way that most traditional entrepreneurs talk. You're actually offering people a vision for the species in a sense.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, is there a humanity manifesto? Like, is there like what is the the club that we can join? Like what is that kind of vision for the future look like? Obviously there's like no poverty.
Yeah.
What else? What are the values? What are the
So right now, like our slogan is everyday people and everyday impact. It's going to take all of us to create change in this world. We can't wait for that person that is the hero that's going to save us, that we've seen all throughout history. It's going to take all of us. How we treat each other makes a difference. You don't have to go all the way to Africa and help a starving child. It's literally how you walk through your life on a daily basis and how you treat people on the street, how you treat people through your daily life is what's going to create the impact.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. That is so great.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's my conviction as well. I mean, we're still going to need politicians. We're still going to need, authors of books and stuff like that. But, one of the things I talk about a lot in my book is like, this is an all hands on deck moment. Like this is not like, let's sit this one out and wait for the 2018 midterms. Let's just hope there's no nuclear war. Like, no, like, like the whole battle cry for purpose is like, it's everybody. It's not just the Ivy educated white guys.
Exactly.
Everybody's got to get on the court.
Everybody. Yeah.
And Jobelle, I'm so glad that because I've been like pining for like a brand that kind of expresses that.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's probably one of like the biggest cultural poisons we have, is that it's on somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. It's just not. I mean, there's you, there's me, there's a gazillion people who are taking this on.
Yeah.
Have you read the book Blessed Unrest?
No, I haven't.
I think you should definitely get a copy for the Humanity Library, because it's kind of foundational to that brand message. And it's written by Paul Hawken, and he's basically saying that, like, without any coordination, like massive amounts of the population are waking up, launching nonprofits, starting social enterprises, getting involved in government, protests. I mean, it's like there's this massive unrest, and
Mm-hmm.
he calls it a blessed unrest, because these are folks who are realizing that our traditional levers of change probably never did work.
Mm-hmm.
but now we're present to that's true, and if anything is going to change, it's us.
Yeah.
That's it, period.
Exactly. Starts with us. Yeah.
Starts with us. So I want to ask, unless there's any other questions from the field here, you've been kind of through a number of different make the world better phases of your life. And
Yeah.
I don't mean phases, I mean like different expressions of making the world better. And I'm curious, like, as you understand your purpose, like, how has it evolved? Like, because obviously now it seems like it's like really clear and aligned, but I'm sure it wasn't always that clear and aligned. And I'm curious, like, what were the evolutions?
Yeah. When I first started, I wanted to help everybody. I wanted to change the world. I was very naive and very young, and I just wanted to help everybody. And I didn't really I wasn't thinking business. I didn't really think, I was just like, business is so evil, and I wanted to stay away from it. So I was really into things. I was really into volunteering for different charities and all that. And when I went in there, I was just like, okay, this is a Band-Aid fix. It's not really creating real sustainable change. And when I went in there, I was just so happy, so lighthearted, and just excited to be there. But I just saw an opportunity as I was getting older, as I was learning more, creating more experiences, and having more knowledge of the different things. I was like, okay, we can create sustainable change. And that's how it evolved. Before, I wanted to help everybody, and I was just like, my heart was open, and I just didn't really understand what it took to create sustainable change. And of course, like, helping people is amazing, and like I would like do that. I did that like in a lot of my life, but learning business, seeing people in like the business world, speaking to more people that own profitable businesses, and putting those two worlds together kind of got me to where I am now. Yeah.
That's interesting, because it's something that we all have to deal with when living in cities where your heart breaks every 2 steps. You see something, you're like, oh man, like, I want to take this woman to the hospital, or I want to help this person find their family, like and I think that is one of the great gifts of purpose to people who have progressive values, because your heart literally can break all the time, and you can want to go every night of the week doing some kind of activism, volunteering. You can just be like, hey, serve. But when you get clear on what's yours, it doesn't mean you don't sign a petition, or you don't give the dollar when asked, and all that kind of stuff. But when you get clear on what's yours, you're not boiling the ocean trying to make the world a better place. Just like, oh, what's mine is I get to have fun launching this really hip brand that empowers people all over the world. Like, that's my thing. I'm going to give 60 hours a week to that, And then, if I have anything left over, sure, maybe I'll come to the rally or whatever.
Yeah. And I guess the biggest thing I learned too is you can't fill from an empty cup,
Yeah.
So I was like, there's all these businesses that are making millions, billions of dollars, but like they know something, they know business. So I had to actually learn business to like put both worlds together.
Yeah.
Which is like, I walked into an investor meeting one time and the guy looked at me like, this guy's in his 70s, like old white male. And he said, you can't do what you want to do in the world if you don't got any money. And I looked at him and I was like, that like got things rolling in my head. So for me to be able to do bigger impact, like more sustainable impact that matters and that lasts, I need money to do that. So it's like, how can I build a model where I can be a profitable and self-sustaining company and to be able to do this bigger impact?
Yeah. I mean, that's unfortunately it's true. And I love what you said about kind of, filling your own cup, 'cause that is something that's so prevalent with folks who want to make the world a better place. I'm part of a sustainable business community. I think I may have connected you with them, the Greener Minds.
Oh yeah, you sent me their link. Yeah.
And over the last 5 or 6 years, being a part of that community, it's interesting, like how the focus has shifted from solutions and policies and activism and all that to self-care. People are like, we have got I'm going to be fighting the good fight for 60 years. I can't be like killing myself all the time on everything that pisses me off about the world. Like I've got to do self-care. So Jobelle, that kind of leads to the next question here, and that's, how do you bring your purpose into your life, into your body? Like, what does it mean to like to fully embody your purpose? Obviously, you've got a career that's like super aligned, but you're more than your career. You're a body. You have relationships. You have family, community, finances, spirituality. What does it mean to actually like inhabit and have your purpose be a match for your life?
Yeah, I guess what it means for me is actually spending time and being around the people or the things that fill my soul. Like, you have that thing inside you, that radar that's like, I like that, I don't like that. Why am I here? Why am I not here? And you have those people that you meet that make you feel magic, So that radar is there. So I guess for the last few years, it's just tapping into and really spending time and cultivating the relationships that are meaningful and purposeful and that keep me going and that keep me filled and keeps my soul filled, as well as doing things that do the same thing, fill my soul, fill my heart, and just continue to keep me growing and continue to make me feel most alive. Like I'm at a certain point in my life where like I need to be myself. I need to be authentic to who I am and to my path. Like when something's fake or something's just isn't aligned, like that radar goes up and I can't be around it. And I just don't even entertain it at all. So yeah, that's how I live that through my purpose. Yeah.
Well, I think what you're speaking to, and this is something that, it's awesome that you're in that place right now, because that's what I would call like pretty advanced purpose embodiment, where like you're intuitively moving through the world. Like my heart is calling me not to be in this conversation right now.
Yeah.
But like I want to go be with the person who's wearing the weird hat or whatever. Like,
yeah.
Because that is where like the real magic lies, is like this is kind of intuitively moving through the world.
Yeah.
There are parts that are really resonant, parts that are like, yeah, like this feels it's soulful, it's emergent, it's creative, and this feels like a fight. Or like
definitely. I mean, before I would definitely fight it, but I think once I just surrendered myself, like, okay, I'm a weirdo, like I like this, this, and this, I don't really care what anybody else thinks, kind of made that stronger. Made that like intuitive feel stronger.
Yeah.
But I guess really takes knowing yourself, knowing who you are, and just surrendering yourself to that. And then there, you won't really entertain things that aren't inauthentic to you or isn't aligned with your purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. And that unfortunately, that level of awareness is really uncommon, even though,
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
yeah. I mean, the stats are really bad on this, unfortunately. Even though everyone's got some sense of like, their essence, like what it's like to be them, very few people have, done the work to know what's really true and what's not.
Yeah.
Now it's, and this is, I'm speaking more to like, Gen X, boomer type folks.
Yeah.
There's something really special happening with, millennials and Gen Z and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like the global workplace, like 87% of humanity who's working is disconnected from their jobs. Like they're clear that they either don't know the purpose or they can't find a way to make a living from it. And so they're like showing up and then doing whatever they do in the nights and weekends and vacations to kind of survive.
Yeah, that's funny you say that. I just actually read an article that large corporations are having a hard time to keep millennials because they just can't work in their like old school traditional ways. Like they want more purposeful things or things that have more meaning. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely true. Yeah.
It's totally true. And, so many of these older folks, they don't know the purpose, and their businesses have no purpose. They've got an economic mission, but it's like, it's not enough. It's like not enough. So last question, but before I ask that, I want to check in. Are there other questions? Anything that is popping up for you in this conversation that you want to ask Jobelle? And if not, that's okay. But I'll go ahead and ask mine. So Jobelle, like, as you look at your like a representative week, like what are the things you get to do that make you feel most alive, that have you just be like, oh, I love this. This is so great. I'm going to do it. I can't wait till the next time I get to do that again.
Yeah. Just connecting with like-minded people, talking to people that really believe that humanity can be better in the future, and talking to people that are living that life. So connecting with them. So like I focus a lot in like building partnerships and like building a community with people, like even people that are working, that are my partners that are working directly with artisans. Like I speak with them on a weekly basis, and as well I speak with people that are aligned with our brand. So just speaking to like-minded people that truly believe that they can change the world by being who they are. And that fills me up so much. And also knowing the kind of opportunity I can provide to someone that lives below the poverty line just by putting their product onto a marketplace. That fills me up so much too. Like last week I was speaking to one of our partners in Peru, and she was like, your dream is becoming dreams of all of our artisans. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like your dream becomes dreams of others. And I was just like, yeah. And I'm not really doing anything. I'm just really creating a marketplace or an opportunity for them to showcase their product, showcase their story, where they'd be stuck in their village, not being able to communicate with the world.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow. So for what I'm hearing is like, for you, it's like, it's being in the conversation that is very much vision, like resonant. Like, talk with other people who are really into it. And then also the impact that you get to create abundance and dignity and self-respect. Like just knowing that and hearing those stories also fills you up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Awesome, Jobelle.
Yeah.
So I need to wrap up here and send people to your website so they can learn more about you and the brand. And so what's the website? Let's spell it out.
Yeah, I could put it up right here. HMNTY.com.
Wow, that is one of the most elegant Earls. So
Yeah.
it's HMNTY.com. It's
Yeah.
basically humanity without most
The
of it.
vowels. Yeah.
Yeah. um, and, uh, and so you're going to be launching this marketplace soon. Is there anything else that you want folks to know? Anything? Well, let me ask you, if anything you want to leave folks who are like contemplating either discovering their purpose or moving their purpose into their career? Any kind of pearls of wisdom you could leave us?
Yeah, definitely. One, don't be afraid to be in solitude. Get to know who you are, because that's very important. You really have to do the work, and don't be afraid with what you find out. I mean, there's a reason why it's inside of you. And two, when you start, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, it really doesn't. You just have to really just take the next step forward. You just have to start. It doesn't have to be perfect. Before, what was blocking me is I wanted it to be perfect in the beginning, and realizing that failing is actually part of your success, and failing fast is actually better. So yeah, don't be afraid of failure, because that's what actually makes you successful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jobelle. HMNTY, HMNTY. Learn more about her, support her brand. I'm gonna go get a hoodie.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Take care,
All
everyone.
right. Bye. Thank you.